Hi, welcome back to Amanda Loves Sense and Books. I'm going to go over the books I read in May. We are outside. My kid is out of school. So, figured I would go ahead and update you on the few books I read in May. I am in the middle of this one. I'm about 60-something pages. Let me see. 66 pages into this one, so not too far. But yeah, I hope y'all are having a good summer. You're gonna hear my son in the background because we are got the pool up and he is just having a ball out there. So if you see me looking, it's because I'm looking over there and seeing what he's doing. But otherwise, I'll get started and hope y'all like this video. The first one I read, or I listened to this via audio, was The 5 Languages of Love by Gary Chapman. It basically goes into the 5 different love languages: physical touch, acts of service, gift giving, and words of appreciation, I think, or something like that. I can't remember the exact one because I listened to this one the 1st of May. And it helps you determine which love language is yours. And I think mine is more of acts of service. And my husband's is more physical touch. So, it goes on to tell you how you can change things up or if you don't know what yours is, you can figure out ways to find it. It was pretty good. I gave it a 4, I think, star. The next one I read physically. I borrowed it from my library, which I do plan to go and buy this one because I fell in love with this book. It was my very first Lucy Score book I have read, and it is Things We Never Got Over. I fell in love with this, and usually I didn't think I would get through it as fast as I did because it's almost a 600-page book, but I got through it pretty quickly, and I gave it a 5 out of 5 star. It is about Naomi and Knox. Naomi basically leaves the night before her wedding to go save her twin sister. Basically, her twin sister calls and says, "Hey, I need your help, and I'm in this knock-em-out town." And so when Naomi gets there, she finds out she has a niece that she had no idea about named Waylay. And her sister ends up stealing her car, takes her money and her phone, and pretty much leaves her stranded there. And then Knox realizes that, hey, this is not her sister. Or not Tina, her sister, which Naomi and Tina are twins. What he thought Naomi was Tina, and it comes to find out she wasn't. And there was a whole big thing about that, and it was just really good, wholesome, kind of a slow burn book, kind of forced proximity if you like those kinds of book. A little bit of action in it, but I thoroughly enjoyed it, and I want to read the next 2 books. I know the second one is out, and the third one comes out, I think, in September. And the next one, the second one is supposed to be Nash's story, which is Knox's brother. The next one I read, I listened to it via audio. I was on my way to my great-grandmother's funeral. She died the beginning of May, and it's about a 3-hour drive. So I listened to it, The Courage to Be Disliked by Future Teak. I'm butchering these names, but they're like Japanese, Chinese names, so I'm not even going to try. But I do recommend listening to this via audio because it's kind of like an interview format. So there's like there's 3 narrators in it. And it's basically like them not really arguing, but saying, hey, this is my point of view on it and this is mine. And you get to learn that about it. Sorry, the wind is kind of shaking the umbrella on the table, so it's shaking my phone. It gives you a different aspect of thinking, like, hey, you're allowed to have disagreements. You're allowed to not to agree with everybody just for the sake of agreeing with them. I thoroughly enjoyed it, and I think everyone should possibly listen to it. The next one was Long Shot by Kennedy Ryan. This is my first Kennedy Ryan book. Look up trigger warnings for this book, because I thought it was just a sports romance, and I kind of went into it blind. It is definitely not just a sports romance. There is a lot of triggers in this book. I don't want you to typically go into it blind, but it is basically about these two people, August and Iris, who meet one night at a bar, and then they just talk, and then August finds out at the end of the night that she has a boyfriend, and it is on his rival's team that this guy she's dating, and it's just different things that lead up to that, and you find out that the guy Iris is dating is not a good guy. I'll just say that. But definitely to check out trigger warnings for that book. There's 3 or 4 books in the series. I'm currently reading book 2. I do believe these are on Kindle Unlimited. I borrowed them from my library, but he's giggling. I borrowed them from my library, but it's a pretty good series. It's the Hoops series by her. The next one I read is If I Stay by Gail Forman. It's been a long time since I watched the movie, so I can't tell you if it sticks to the movie or if the movie's better. It's been a few years. I didn't realize there was actually a book on it until I found it at the local thrift store. And I was like, hey, this is a movie I've seen, but I've only watched the movie once, so I need to go back and rewatch the movie to figure out if the book is better than the movie, which sometimes they are, sometimes they're not. But it's basically this girl is trying to decide if she should stay here or she should go on to a different place, is all I'm going to say. Because I don't want to spoil that book for y'all. Love and Other Words by Christina Lauren. There is so much hype for this book, and I finally got around to reading it. Somebody got it for me on my birthday in January, and I finally got around to reading it. And it didn't live up to the hype for me. Just the miscommunication, and all she had to do was tell him, and she didn't, and it was just, I didn't like it. It was not for me. I've read one other Christina Lauren book, and it was The Honey Don't List, and I really enjoyed that one. I read that one last year, but this one was not. It just was not for me. I know I'm going to get a bunch of hate probably because so many people love this book. It just was not for me. It's about Macy and Elliot, and they were best friends growing up, and then one thing happened and it completely changed for them. And it just, yeah, I didn't like this book. So the next one I listened to via audio was Living Fully by Mallory Irvin. You may or may not know her. I think she was on Survivor, which I've never watched. And then she was Miss Kentucky, and then she came in, I think, runner-up for Miss USA that year. I don't remember what year. She said in the book, but I don't remember. But it's basically her life, and how she realized that, not everything is going to be all peachy and clean and the way that you want it to be. Everything can change in the drop of a hat. You don't know what's going on behind somebody's life, so try not to judge them. The next one I listened to via audio was Louder Than Words by Jenny McCartney. I didn't realize that she actually wrote a whole bunch of books until I'd seen this one in an autism group, and somebody suggested I read it because I've been just reading a bunch of different ones lately. And it was okay. If you don't like cursing, don't listen to this book, and maybe just pick it up and read it. But the way that she went around with some of her difficulties getting the diagnosis, I think she could have handled better. but you never know until somebody's going through it what they're going through. And then, sorry, he's coming up to get the towel, and he was going to move it. The next one was It Starts With Us by Colleen Hoover, which is the second to It Ends With Us. You can say hi? Hi? That's Austin. That's my son. It Starts With Us by Colleen Hoover, which is the sequel to It Ends With Us by her. And it's basically more of Lily and Atlas, and I won't go too much in detail because it'll spoil the first one. I wasn't too big a fan of the first one. I gave the first one a 4 stars. My favorite Colleen Hoover so far is Ugly Love. But I do plan to watch the movie when it comes out. I do like Blake Lively, so that's kind of the reason I do want to see it. But I gave the first one a 4 star. This one I gave a 3 because I didn't feel like we needed the book, but I read it anyway because I was like, well, maybe it'll be good, you know. It was a 3 star for me. It wasn't as what I thought it would be. But other than that, I had a pretty good reading month for May. I'm hoping June I'll be able to. I don't know how much I'll get reading done with the little man out of school. I do have 2 audiobooks checked out. I have Know My Name by Chanel Miller, and then I have Navigating Autism. I can't remember the author, but I have those 2 reserved on Libby. And then I have some other ones, but they're like 4 weeks out, so I don't know if I'll have those by June, depending on how early people check them in or not. But this one I'm in the middle of reading right now, so I typically don't stick to a TBR because I'm more of a mood reader. The only ones I really kind of stick to is the audiobooks, because I've already pre-hold those, so when they become available, I typically do those. Let me know what your favorite book in May was. My favorite book was definitely The Things We Never Got Over by Lucy Score. And my least favorite, I could say, was Love in Other Words by Christina Lauren. I know, 2 romance books. But I hope y'all have a good rest of the day, and I will see you soon. I think I'm going to do maybe a mid-year check-in to say what my favorite books so far of this year and what my least favorite books. I don't know. We'll see. I don't know yet. Depends on how he's doing. Because yesterday I was going to film this video and they were mowing in the backyard, or behind the gate. There's a big field back there and they were mowing, so I couldn't because it was so loud out here. So we'll see what happens. But I hope y'all have a good rest of the day, and see y'all later.